everybody to the Golf Tier System Future You Pathway webinar series. For those of you who are new to the program, my name is Coach TJ. I'm a life member of the LPGA, and I'm the director of golf of two academies, one in Vancouver and one in Las Vegas. I started playing at the age of 12, and I competed as a junior, amateur, collegiate, and professionally. I went to University of Washington on a full ride in Seattle, and I captained the team for 3 years. I won 4 times and 4 runner-ups, and it was there that I really started my teaching career as a freshman. Then our academies really specialize in kids age 5 to 18. We make sure that they are super sound with their golf foundation, and they're also academic ready to get to their dream school. And Future You Pathway has sent hundreds of kids to their dream school. And I'm here today with my esteemed co-host, Coach Michael Hughes. Coach Michael Hughes is a colleague of mine at the Future You Pathway, and he's had an esteemed career. He started his pro career in Florida at PGA National, where he met the likes of Dr. Gary Wiring and Jim Flick. It was there that he got introduced to Ken Venturi, and he won the 1964 U.S. Open, and Coach Hughes was the director of golf of Ken Venturi Academy in Chicago for 6 years. He then got coerced to be the assistant coach at DePaul University, and then they had a worldwide search to find the coach of Brown University, where he won that coveted job. And Coach Hughes is known to everyone as the short game expert. Coach Hughes has a passion for teaching juniors and amateurs along the way to become professionals. So we have that passion in common. The other common thing we have is we've done mini camps together. Vancouver, Ireland. Coach Hughes and I took the 8 Ivy League coaches, Northwestern and Duke, to China in 2017. That was a pretty fun trip. Coach Hughes, how are you? And we have a great lineup tonight, and you know these people well.
Well, thanks, TJ. Yeah, this is a special night for me because I get to have two of my favorite coaches here. And regardless of their sex or their division, these are great coaches, and I'm happy to have them both here. You and I have spent a lot of time across the globe here going to different locales to teach the youth of America how to become college golfers. And I think that tonight it'll go a long way into hearing some of their beliefs that we share together. And I couldn't be happier. Just for a little bit of background as to how I know both these ladies. Jackie Beck came to us as an applicant at my university. And I was on the search committee, and right after we had lunch, the first thing I said is to stop the interviews because this is our person. So she was, I want to say, fortunately at Brown University, but unfortunately when the program got cut. But it doesn't diminish her ability to coach, and Wellesley did a great job in hiring her. Elizabeth and I just came back from Ireland. We were there 3 weeks ago. And she saw me in the line at Logan Airport, came up to me and said, "Coach, I'll help you go through all here." And because of my, let's call it my challenge that I've got with my eyesight, she got me through security, got me on the plane, got me off the plane on the bus, got me all the way down to Waterville. We had a great time together. So I'm extremely excited to hear what they've got to say, and I will turn it back over to you so you can start asking questions.
All right. Coach Jackie, can you tell us a little bit about your background for those of us that might not know everything?
Yeah, I played a lot of junior golf, grew up in Chicago. They have a great junior program there. Then I went on and played golf in college at a D1 school, Illinois State. And then from there, I started teaching down in Florida at Innisbrook Resort. And I then went into the corporate world. I started working for Spalding for 12 years in the communications department, product management. And then my passion and love for the game kind of circled back after 12 years. I started teaching again, doing first tee. And then I had some opportunities at some colleges to work at Central Connecticut as the coach, and then Brown. And then now I'm at Wellesley. But I'm an LPGA professional. I teach in the summer at a club couple days a week. So yeah, I just really enjoy golf is my number one. Corporate America was great, but I enjoy being outside every day.
Wow. Okay. And Coach Elizabeth, can you tell us about your background?
Course. I grew up in Houston, Texas. I actually started golf pretty late. I believe I started in like eighth grade. I did every other sport before that until my dad finally convinced me to pick up a golf club. And as soon as I picked it up, I fell in love with it. I played for 4 years at the University of Mary Hardin-Baylor. It's a small Division III school down in Texas. Loved my experience. My coach made a really big impact in my life, and I wanted to do that when I came out of school. I wanted to keep golf. I didn't want to sit behind a desk all day. I wanted to be outside, and I also wanted to make an impact in college students. So I got pretty lucky. I applied for the Amherst College job. It was just the women's job at the time. I got the job, made the move to Massachusetts, and have been there ever since. I'm going into my 10th year now. I now do the men and women. I absolutely love doing both programs. I love being at the Division III level because I played at that level, and I love even more being at the high academic level as well. I try to find time to still play golf every once in a while, but I definitely still love the game and love helping students find their way throughout their 4 years in college.
Wow. So before Coach Hughes asks his next question, um, Coach Elizabeth, is it hard to juggle the men's and women's team, or do you find it awesome because you have like, say you have like 10 players on this team and 10 players on this team and you get to travel to different items? Like how is that for you?
Yeah, I couldn't do it without a really good assistant coach. I have an awesome assistant, Meredith Mays, who really helps me a lot, but it can, you have to be organized, but I absolutely love it. It's so great coaching both programs. We do a lot of things together, which is pretty unique to our school. We're not just men's golf or women's golf. We're one big golf program, and it's really cool to see our kids interact a lot, support one another. I know when I played college golf, we didn't really interact as much with the men's team. We really didn't even know their schedule or, how they did in the last tournament versus our team really supports one another and follow along in terms of live scoring and all that. So I love it. But you have to be organized for sure.
Okay, well, let's get to the nuts and bolts of why we're here today, and it's going to be interesting to hear your perspective. Jackie, I'm especially interested to hear how you're going to answer this question. As someone who's coached at Division III and at Division I, what would you say is the major differences or the similarities between the coaching at one level and coaching at the other?
That's a good question. The first one I think you find, and I only know the women's yard, so Elizabeth, you can chime in, but in D1, the women played anywhere between 59 and 6,200 yards. D3, it's 57 to 5,900. So the yardage is different, which I think is pretty significant on that end. Also, in some of the schools, high academics, that is the priority in D3 in high academic schools. So you're there for academics and golf is secondary, where I think sometimes in the D1 caliber, it gets lost a little bit. It's a sport first, and then academics is right behind it. But I definitely think when it comes to D3 high academic schools, that is the priority. I had one of my players this year miss conference because she had to go to a 3-day summit for a potential internship. And I mean, that's her priority. That's why they're there for that education. So I think those are kind of the two. And in where we are, we don't travel a lot during the week at all and miss classes. And that's another big difference between D1 and D3 on that end.
I didn't coach D1, nor did I play D1, but I can say at least if you compare D1 to D3, my sister played Division I golf at a pretty high level. Where we are, you can be a lot more involved on campus. Our kids also go abroad. I know at the Division I level, you cannot go abroad. A lot of our students are able to do internships in the summer. Sometime in Division I, you're a little more limited because you're required to play a certain amount of tournaments in the summer. D1, you can golf is your job versus D3, you do it because you love the game. So that's probably the biggest difference. I mean, they still definitely love the game in Division One, but it's a lot more of a job than it is at the Division 3 level.
Isn't it also Division One? I think you can play like minimum 24 competition days a year, and then Division 3, I think you guys play 16 competition days a year.
So it's actually 20, but at least for us with our conference, it's 16. So we're a little more limited within our conference. That doesn't include postseason and stuff like that. But yes, you definitely play a lot more events or tournaments in Division 1 than you do at the Division 3 level.
And we count different for days. We do, since we have a fall and spring season, we count 114 days, and D1 was 20 hours a week.
Right.
So it's the way that they count your practice schedule and everything. And I think the other thing, especially for the women, the D1, you always play 36 one day, 18 the second day. Not a lot of 18, 18, 18s 3-day events. And in D3, we pretty much play either 18, 18, 18. There's no 36 holes.
I
In one
did
day.
I did not know that. That's very good information to share with us.
And they're looking to change that in the D1 end because it is a very bit. I mean, some days you're out there for 12 hours just playing and
I can
playing.
imagine, because it's going to take you probably minimum 5 hours to play, even if you play in threesomes. Then you have to eat, and then
Well, we just kind of throw the lunches at them.
yeah, exactly.
They just continue on. There's no break.
There's no break. There's no
break
you have 30 seconds to go to the bathroom. Go.
Well, then
Right.
Yeah.
D3 on the men's side, they do 36 to 18. We're just starting that this year, but a lot of teams already did that. But on the women's side, Jackie's right, we don't ever do 36, 18. And I don't see a trend where that will happen. Just that's a lot of golf in one day.
Mhm.
To clarify one thing here.
Yeah, go ahead, coach.
The Ivy League too, which I can speak at length about, is 16 hours too, just like the NESCAC schools. So, yeah, you've got to stack your competition within a very short amount of time. And what Jack, you were talking about was the countable hours, Kara.
Mm-hmm.
It's 20 hours.
And ours are days now. We go to days.
You go to days, okay.
Yeah, so it's 114 total days between fall and spring season. Yep. And
So let me understand. So let's say school A gets in on Labor Day, and then their first tournament is September 10th. Then they have 114 days to complete their entire season?
No, like each day you practice, like if you start on Labor Day, and you practice, that counts as a day. It's a countable day. So each time you practice, instead of hours per week, it's the days that you practice. So we practice 6 out of 7 days in season. So for 7 weeks, those 6 days, that's 42 days. Is that the right math? I think.
Yeah. So yeah, your math is correct.
Yeah, and then we have workouts in the winter, so those are countable days. And then before we start again in January, we do workouts again. That's another 3 days a week. So those days add up. Believe it or not, they add up pretty quick.
Okay, so is that the same for Div 3 men and women? Are both men's and women's golf is exactly 114 days? I see. Okay, that's
outside of postseason. Those
yes,
days.
that's all. So that's
the calendar starts. Yeah.
And then postseason's different.
And D1, as Mike was saying, was their hours.
Right.
So you could play 36 holes in one day. And what was the max, Mike? Was that 3 hours?
4 hours.
4 hours. And you played 36 holes. It only counts for 4 hours.
Oh, I see. Very interesting.
Yeah.
Very interesting. Because yeah, you're there for 12 hours.
Yeah, they're trying to change that. I don't know. I mean, I don't know how far they're getting to that, but they want to change it. These student athletes. It's a lot.
All right, coach, do you want to ask about the juniors and their radar?
Yeah, let's switch gears for a second here. Elizabeth, what does someone have to do to get on your radar to play golf at a place like Amherst?
Yeah, I think the first piece is, it's always important to reach out to the coach. That's the best way to get on their radar. I don't think there's any too early time to reach out. In Division 3, we can respond to anyone. So even if you're in 8th grade and you want to reach out to us, we can respond. Doesn't mean we're always going to respond, but we at least see your email. You get in our recruiting system. We're able to keep track in terms of how you're doing from a golf perspective. So that's the first important piece. I would say second is the academic piece. For any school that you're looking for, if you're looking for high academic, you need to make sure you're keeping up your grades throughout high school, because if you aren't, we're probably going to lose interest just because you can't gain admission to our school. So academics are a really important piece, making sure you're keeping that up. And then obviously we want someone who's going to come in and, fit in terms of our scoring average. But I know at least for me and a lot of Division 3 coaches, we're looking very heavily between your junior and senior year summer. Doesn't mean we're not looking at other summers, but I love players who maybe they didn't fit our scoring average the summer before, but all of a sudden they're starting to improve. They're showing they have upside. They're showing that, hey, they can shoot scores in our average. I'd like to see that as well. But the first really important piece is reaching out to the coach and making sure that we see your email. And if we don't respond, reach out again. I'm not the type of person, like you can email me all the time. It's not a problem. It's part of my job to respond and to see your emails. But you've got to reach out to the coaches in order to get on our radar. Every once in a while we might find you, but it's a lot easier if you reach out to us and get on our radar early on.
Coach Jackie, same question.
Similar to what Elizabeth said, but I like them once they reach out, I like them to keep their name in front of me, whatever year they are, but just like give me an update maybe once a month. I think that's important because I keep seeing the name, I watch the scores, check it on junior scoreboard, and just follow them that way. I usually track them. The other thing that I have gotten players from is fellow LPGA and PGA professionals will reach out. They're their teaching coach, their swing coach, their mental coach, and they will send a note to me. And those are really important because if they've taken the time, we all are busy teaching in the summer and stuff. So writing for a student is very important to me because then I feel more I can talk to them on a professional basis.
So if I wrote you and said, hey, I have a kid who's 4.9. She's starting grade 12 and she hits it at 94 miles an hour and she's one handicap. You're going to go, yeah, send me video or whatever.
Or I'll just probably call you and just say, here's what we're looking for. And I may ask you the academic question and where they stand. What's the personality like? What are this family like? I'll ask those questions a little bit to the coach. I feel more comfortable that way. And then, showing up on campus is important too in that recruiting time frame. It's like you have to show up and also come to some tournaments in the Northeast because if you're going to play in the area you're playing, it's nice that we get to see that. A lot of times we see scores that are always in the South and you're like, okay, up in the Northeast, we're wearing jackets and in Amherst, it snowed one day this spring, our first day of the event, it snowed. So we have to make sure that mindset's ready for that.
Right, because Vancouver, it's like, 365 days a year. I don't know what the rainfall is, but I don't know. But it's like 2/3 of the time we're playing in an umbrella and a rain jacket and a toque on.
Right.
You guys know what a toque is? A beanie.
Oh, okay. We have some of those. Yeah. Yeah, that's
or even the eastern, like anything east of, Vancouver. It's like North Dakota.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that kind of weather is really a mindset. I always tell the team, and I'm sure Elizabeth too, is on the, half the field doesn't want to play. So if you go in with the mindset, let's do it. I mean, we're already up on half the field because they've already packed it in, So I think it's, getting out there and hitting it out of the dirt is important, in all types of conditions.
We have a saying, you can't complain because you chose to golf in the Northeast. So pretty honest, or I'm really honest in the recruiting process in terms of the type of weather we play in. But I think Jackie makes a good point, like coming to campus is so important. Like you can't make a decision unless you actually come to campus and step foot and see, okay, is this where I want to spend my next 4 years? Is this where I want to be? I think that's a really important piece.
Okay, question. Um, let's say I come to campus, but I don't. Okay, no, I'm going to rephrase the question. I'm deciding that I'm going to go to Amherst. I'm in grade 11. I want to see the campus, and it's in July, and I'm going to play a tournament in the Northeast. I should really register with the school to do a campus tour also so that you know that I've taken a campus tour and been on campus. Is that correct?
Yeah, yes. I mean, usually what I'll do is I'll please reach out to me. That way I can meet you as well. I'll do my best, or either me or my assistant coach will try to be on campus, meet you. But we do like our potential candidates to actually go on a campus tour, because for us and for a lot of campuses, it's usually students giving the tour. So
Yeah.
they can talk about their experience. I always joke with individuals and say they give a way better tour than I do, because like they're living on campus. They know the ins and outs of campus. And then there's also an information session where usually someone in admissions is there and they can answer your questions, and then when they come to me, most of their questions are answered. Then it's more talking about the golf piece. But if there isn't a campus tour available, I'm happy to take someone around and show them around campus. But yeah, anytime you're going to visit campus for any school, reach out to the coach and reach out in advance. I don't know how many times I'll get an email Sunday morning, hey coach, I'm going to be on campus in 2 hours. It's like, oh, that's great, but I'm not on campus. I'm not working on a Sunday, so I can't meet with you. But if you would have reached out even on just Wednesday, I probably could have made it work. So just try to reach out in advance to let coaches know, hey, I'm visiting campus. These are the times I'd love to meet with you.
Jackie, same question.
Yeah, I prefer giving the tour. If it's a top recruit, I rather give them the tour, because I think Wellesley is a pretty big campus. And I find that they don't take them to two important things, the golf course or the sports center. And those are two areas that the team that's where they spend their time. So that kind of misses the tour. It's kind of the tour is great, admissions tour, but it doesn't hit all the fine points that I think are important for someone coming to see Wellesley. So if I try to be there, I try to schedule, like Elizabeth says, you got to let us know far in advance so we can schedule, especially in the summer, because we're either out recruiting or out teaching ourselves and stuff like that. So I do like to do that, and it gives me time to spend with the recruit. Sometimes I like if their family's there, because then I can see that interaction. I think just walking the campus with the recruit really tells you a lot and can answer a lot of questions. So I prefer that over the admissions tour a lot of times, but the admissions tours are good for, especially on the info and financial section of it, because we just don't talk financials. But that's important. But being on campus is so important. Also during the season, I like them to sit in a class, possibly if they're on campus, like with one of the players, and also have a lunch with a couple players too. I really keep the players part of the process, because they're with us 2 hours a day, but that team is theirs all the time. So I always say I just drive the van and make PB&Js, but they spend all their time with their teammates. So I think that's really important, that the team it's a win-win for both the recruit and the team.
Okay, that's great. And what if the kid is grade 10 and is young, but still you already know this child is smart and super keen, and they're good, and Wellesley's my first choice. Is it fine for them to say, hey, I'm going to come on campus, and then they can still be in the classroom and have lunch, and even if they're in grade 10 or grade 9?
I think 9 may be early.
Okay.
But 10, depending on their major, yeah, I would say, because Wellesley, obviously being an all women's college, is a unique experience in itself. So I really feel that they should experience that, especially during the hard thing in the summer. They don't really see the students, right? When they go any school, it's all different. There's a lot of construction going on usually, but when they can see, can I fit into this place? It's really during the school year. So I encourage them to come like the spring before, that they're looking. Maybe their sophomore spring season is a good time to start looking at that. And that would be 10th grade, right? Yeah.
Okay, that's great.
Let me just interject something. I think that especially for myself and Elizabeth and Jackie, you have to pay attention to the testing because I don't know if you guys are test optional yet, but if you're not test optional, I wouldn't even enter the fray because, you may have a great student with a 4.2 who takes the SATs and gets 740 on it. So you've wasted a lot of time on a student that can't possibly get admittance. I know we can't speak about the admittance, but I'm just saying in general, I think we tend to get with these academic institutions, we tend to get into the fray later because we haven't seen the test scores.
So the question, we are test optional,
Right?
and we will be for the future. Now. And I think some schools are bringing it back. Originally with the COVID, a lot of them were test optional, but now I do read some are bringing it back. But yeah, so that we really can't see that part of it, just transcripts.
Elizabeth, do you guys test optional?
We're also test optional, so. But I know like some schools are like test preferred. I'm not even sure what that means. And then like some schools are full testing. So it's just important to do your research. I'm willing to meet with anyone pretty much who comes on campus. As long as I'm around, I'll meet with you. Obviously, if we don't think you're a fit, academically or from a golf standpoint, I'll have that conversation. But most of the time, if it's pretty early on, there's still a lot of, room in terms of doing better from an academic standpoint or to continue to improve from a golf standpoint. But I'll pretty much meet with anyone as long as they reach out in enough time and I happen to be on a campus. Summer's a little bit differently just because, like Jackie says, I travel a lot more and I'm not always on campus. So I may not meet with everyone who, reaches out if you're really young and like ninth grade, going into ninth grade or 10th grade. But during the school year, if I'm around, I'll meet with anyone that comes on our campus.
One thing, Mike, that I would mention too is when you do that initial letter, just be very careful, because a lot of times we get letters that are going to Elizabeth, but they came to me as an email, so I think that's you got to be really making sure you're watching that. And then secondly, always put your year in the letter. A lot of times I'll read an email and I go through the whole thing and I'm like, what year are they? So it's kind of like, make it easy for the coaches to kind of glance at it right in the subject line, put the year, make sure you're sending it to the correct coach. And even put in one little sentence of that you've done some research about Wellesley or Amherst or any college you're looking at, something about the campus that you saw, online that you think is, suitable. Make it sound, I know they're form letters, but a little personal, 1 or 2 sentences would go a long way.
Yeah, like find out something about you or find out something about your program or
Right.
that, you guys came in second in the national championship or whatever that might be, right? Or that you've, oh, I thought this was an aeronautical school.
Mhm.
Or I can't say who, but Coach Hughes knows about whatever guy coach and it's like blank university when it's really blank college and he goes, they're out.
Right. Yeah. It's a lot just do the form letter and they just send them to mass.
Yeah.
So that's
Make yourself stand out in a good way. You don't want to be the person that's like, oh yeah, that's the person who emailed me who put Jackie in there or who emailed me and said, oh, I'm interested in Williams College. Well, Williams is our rival, so I'm really glad you're interested in our rival, but we're not Williams College. Or I'm interested in Amherst because I'm interested in, the engineering program. Well, we don't have engineering, so you're probably not that interested in us. So just do your research. It takes 5 minutes. I know students are sending out mass emails. I did the same thing. You're trying to figure out where you want to go, but make yourself stand out because that makes us want to keep, watching to see how you're doing from a golf standpoint and watch how you're doing from an academic standpoint.
And I look at it as if you're more detailed, that's probably how you play the game a little bit too. You're not just cutting corners when you're practicing and different things. That's how you go through life, doing the research, looking at it, are you checking, ahead of time? So I think that's important. that says a lot when you're just throwing mass emails out.
Yeah.
What you guys have just illustrated is not recoverable. You know, I know when I was coaching, if you sent a letter to me and it was said, "Dear Coach Parker, it's been my dream to play golf at Brown my whole life." There's no recovery from that. That's in the circular file, the end.
Right. Although there are second chances in life sometimes.
Maybe
No matter
not
how
for
hard you
coach.
want
Maybe
to.
not for Coach Hughes. Maybe not for Coach Hughes.
Well,
I was his office mate. Yep.
she was a great counterpart to me too. I loved working with her. All right, let's go to another topic here. This was a very interesting topic for our last podcast, so I'm interested to hear what you ladies have to say about this. Technology. Is technology making golf better? Is it making it worse? Is it making it slower? What do you think about modern technology? Jackie?
I'm not a big fan. No, I'm just kidding. I think it's good and bad. I just think I think that today's student athlete uses it to the nth degree where they need to, this game is a lot of feel, too. You've got to, I guess one of my biggest pet peeves is you're 20 yards away from the green and they're shooting it. It's like, okay, let's walk up there and get the feel, So I think it's a good mix, but sometimes I think we rely too much on the rangefinders. I think we try to, when it comes to golf, competitive golf, you have to play the course. You can't play your swing. And I think TrackMan and all of those have created this play the swing out there. Where's my position? What's my club head speed, as opposed to figuring out how to get the ball in the hole. So I think, but it's both, it's good. I mean, we're all teaching professionals. We know that it's important, but I think we have to have a balance. A lot of this game is, it's a feel thing too. So it's a good balance. But remember, I'm old school.
Same.
As Elizabeth will
How
know,
about
I'm
you?
old school.
No, I agree. I think technology can be really good. I think it's been really helpful for like indoor season, right? I remember 6 years ago, we didn't have any technology. You were just hitting to a net and guessing in terms of where the golf ball goes. But a lot of it's feel. If you don't know you're, massively hooking it indoors and you go outside and you think you're hitting it straight, your feel is probably off, and we probably need to look into that. But TrackMan is incredibly helpful, but it can also, you can get too into the numbers. And a lot of kids that can happen, right? Where all of a sudden their swing's fine, but they go indoors and they're fixing a swing that doesn't need fixed. Because they want, this certain number on TrackMan. They want this certain swing path or this certain swing speed or whatever it is. So I think it's a balance. I think it's important to kind of pick the numbers that you want to look at, figure out what your numbers should be, and kind of go from there. Technology has been great too in terms of the stat system. There's so many stat systems out there now that you can use that you can just plug in your phone, that really kind of help give you an idea of how to practice and how to play. But again, you can get too into that, and then all of a sudden, you aren't even going through your shots in terms of what you hit out on the golf course that day. But I think at times, yeah, it's definitely making golf slower. Golf is, already not a fast game. And I can tell you at the college level, it is not fast. I mean, Jackie, you can attest to that. I don't know how many
Purple
times.
schools.
No, it's not the purple schools. It's the blue schools, just the one blue school out there.
They
Uh,
play fast.
but I think there's a balance there, and I think it's just, where teaching professors and coaches need to have conversation with junior golfers about that balance, because they all grew up with technology. Like, I remember when I played high school golf, I didn't even use a rangefinder. I could just look at a yardage and know what it is, versus like Jackie said, these kids, they can't even look at 20 yards and know how far it is. So I think it's a give and take and learning how to balance it. But I think there is a lot of benefits to technology, definitely when it comes to indoor golf, just because we're indoors for quite a bit of time where we're not able to go outside and play.
I remember one LPGA teaching school that we went to, like a 2-day thing that we had to go to, and they go, okay, we're taking you to the range, and there was like 20 of us, and they took us one at a time, and they go, okay, Coach TJ, how far is that flag? And I'm just like, 51. What's that flag? Like 82, whatever, you know what I mean? Like it was just like fast and I knew it. And then they go, and then we didn't know, but it was a competition. And they're just like, how do you know it? And I go, out of you guys, I'm like at the 80 percentile of shortest hit. Like I hit the ball 2.25. You guys hit the ball like I had wood heads with steel shafts. This is back in the day.
Yes.
And then I'm just like, I have to know that that's 52 yards. I have to know that that's 83 yards. You know what I mean? But I just find it's Coach Hughes would probably say it too. It's kind of it's a lost art.
It really is. I agree on that. It's just to be able to even walk it off. I do have practice once in a while when I get so frustrated after a competition where I just bring a bag and they have to deposit the rangefinders all in the bag and they have to just go off and walk it off. Because I'm like, the whole thing is they panic if they don't have the battery goes dead. What do I do? And I'm like, you use your feet. That's what you do. That's how we did it in the black and white days.
So back in the day, Dean Eilenfeld was my coach at University of Washington. So it was she's in the Hall of Fame, both in the Pacific Northwest and the USGA. But we get a call, like literally a phone call on the wall, and it's like, bring your bag and go to you're meeting the football stadium. Do you know where that is? And I'm just like, well, kind of. It's like really big, right? And it's next to the, and they go, yeah, it's really big, and it's next to the K. So I'm walking all the way across campus. It took me like 20 minutes. So I go, I'm here. Yeah, the dean comes in there. So our very first day, we had to walk the 100 yards. We had to walk with our teammates. There's 12 of us, and we had to talk to them and just walk. And my steps were 106 steps for 100 yards. We had to do that 4 times. We had to do it for 400 yards.
That's interesting.
And so she goes, okay, so when you're pacing off, or whatever, you look at whatever, 50 yards, she goes, really, your 50 yards is 53. So it was very interesting for us. That was my very first day.
And it's memorable, which is nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now we just shoot, point, and click. But yeah, and I also think the thing now too, and Elizabeth will probably chime in on this one too, is now that we do all electronic scoring, having the student athletes have their phones out is really, it's kind of a double-edged sword, to score, because somehow they can get in and they lose some of them will just so addicted to the phones where you have Instagram and all your social media, and they somehow are waiting on the tee and they're looking like they're putting a score, but I can see, you can see the social media pop up, and now they've lost their mental toughness. So that's kind of one of those things. It's great so everybody can follow the scores, but also they've got to stay in the moment.
It's also different now too, because players know how everyone's doing on the team and they know where their team is at, versus before you had no clue. It was all about body language. Like I remember my coach talking about, you got to have, great body language out there, because your teammate's going to look behind you. And if you're slouching and pouting, they're going to know like you're not playing well, versus now you could just go on your phone and see, okay, how many over or under par is my teammate and where's our team score at? And I think each coach kind of approaches that differently. Some coaches might say like, hey, we don't want you looking at the score, just go out and play the course. But yeah, that the phone technology during the round is definitely a lot different, even within the past probably 5 years, or even the last 3 years with live scoring. Because we just made the move with live scoring in the Northeast a few years ago with hole by hole scoring. So it's definitely different. It's helpful for coaches to see live scoring, but Jackie doesn't either. I don't look heavily at live scoring. That's my assistant coach. She looks at the live scoring and lets me know. And I kind of position myself based on that, but I don't think it's helpful to just refresh out there to see what our players doing. That's not really going to help them. I need to be out there coaching them and not, refreshing every 5 minutes to see what they're doing.
And honestly, I think you look at the scores and you look at how everybody pans out. It's really the last 4 holes. You got 4 players scores that you need to count. So what they had in the front 9 really doesn't matter, because you can really make ground up in the last 4 holes. If you're shooting birdies and stuff and they're double the team. So I really don't look at it. Elizabeth knows. I'm always asking her, where are we? On the last 4 holes, the only time I kind of show interest. But you're right. It's kind of challenging to coach now with all of this technology out there too, and kind of figuring out what's good and what's not. It's Phones are the future. So, I mean, they're here and they're not going away.
All right. Thank you. That was enlightening, wasn't it, Coach Hughes?
Very,
What's
so
that?
I was going to say the one thing that I found very interesting, and I relate this back to going to play golf in Scotland. When you take a caddy over there and you say, "How far do I have?" They'll say 6-iron. They won't say it's 152 yards. It's an art for them. And when Jackie said we should play more by feel, I couldn't agree with you more. That's how I grew up playing. My home course now, I could hop on a tee and say, "Oh, this is a 5-iron." I couldn't tell you what the yardage was. I just knew it was a 5-iron.
Yeah.
Because that's the kind of player I was when I grew up. So I think you stole a little bit of TJ's thunder here about the story about the. TJ, why don't you relay the story about the girl with the
No, that's later. That's later. Okay, I have a question. How important is a good tournament schedule? Elizabeth.
Yeah, I think it's really important. It's important to, I always say it's about the quality of tournaments, not the quantity. So many junior golfers think I need to play a tournament every single week to be picked up by a coach in the summer. And it's like, no, really, you don't have to do that. It's important to kind of pick and choose what tournaments you want to play. I think it's great if you play a lot of local events. It's definitely usually easier on parents too in terms of getting you to and from the golf course. But I think it's also helpful to play some events where either you have to get on an airplane or you have to get in the car and you have to stay in a hotel room, kind of similar to what we do at the college golf level. Playing multi-day events is incredibly important. And we talked a little bit about this earlier too, going and playing tournaments and where you want to play college golf. Definitely in the Northeast, if you look at the Division III schools in the Northeast, we mainly just play Northeast golf. So if you're used to playing West Coast golf or you're used to playing out in Arizona, which is desert golf, that's a lot different than Northeast golf. So it's really important to go out there in the summer and play in a tournament. And I would say it's super easy. If you're going to come out and visit our school, go ahead and sign up for a tournament. There's a million junior golf tournaments out there from all ranges, from 1-day events to 3-day events. Of course, you can play an AJGA. I mean, there's a million events out there. It's just figuring out kind of how you want to put your schedule together. And I encourage junior golfers to kind of take ownership of that. Don't just make your parents do it. If this is something that you want to do, research it and see, okay, what type of tournaments do I want to play and what is our budget for tournaments? How can I go to a tournament that's a little further away, or how can I challenge myself? Right? I think it's great to enter events that you can win, but it's also good to enter in events that are a challenge where, it might be tough to even make the cut out there, but you challenged yourself and that makes you a better golfer, I think.
Same question, Jackie?
I think she covered most of it. Yeah, I just think, if you're going to play, if you're looking at schools, play in that area. So, the coaches it's easier for the coaches to come to a lot of the events in that area and also see you play in those conditions because the grass is different, especially around the greens. The type of sand is different a lot from the north to the south. It's a lot of different things that we look at, and the weather, of course.
Okay, I'd like to ask, how is the grass different? Because the Pacific Northwest, we have that Poana grass that is like super limp. The ball sits down. It has no life. It's like almost every shot you have to dig it out. Like, what's that? I don't think I've ever actually golfed, like played. I've played in 38 states, but I've never played golf, at least a pro tournament in the Northeast. So what's the grass
It's
like?
probably a little bit, I mean, what do you think? It's a little bit more like about the Pacific Northwest. I mean, you're playing all types of conditions. I mean, a lot of times in spring, we end up rolling it, moving the ball a little bit because you're playing in a lot of, bad lies and everything like that. But I think it's, you're not playing, it's not Bermuda, it's back grass mostly.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
That's what I would say right there. The difference between the Pacific Northwest, TJ, and going down to Florida, that's a huge difference.
Yeah.
That Bermuda grass, because the ball goes right to the bottom. And I always found out you can't pitch the ball in Florida. You have to hit chip shots because you got to play the ball back a little further. It comes out lower.
And I think the courses up north and in the Pacific Northwest and Northeast, they're a little more challenging. You have to really, you got to be able to fly it to the greens a lot of times. Florida courses, and no offense on Florida or anything, but a lot of them roll, you know, you don't have a lot of those false fronts or carries as a lot of other courses do up here. And it's the air is heavier. So those are like important things to see.
I would
Yeah, the air is heavier for sure. What were we gonna say, Elizabeth?
I would say a lot of students too, when they come in, at least on the women's side, they notice their ball flight. They don't fly it as far, just because it is the conditions. I mean, even in the fall, they find that because it might be foggy or humid, and then in the spring, it's freezing cold and raining. We're really selling Northeast golf right now,
I was
but
gonna say, I don't even want to come back to work.
I know what the heck. I need to move.
What are you thinking?
I don't know.
I have to get a big heavy coat.
But like it is important to know, like let's say you hit it, 220 in there, you can expect to come to us and it's probably going to go 210. Like that our kids lose 10 to 15 yards sometimes on that ball flight off their driver just because of the weather conditions and everything. But Jackie's right. I think every course we play has false fronts. Our home course is a Donald Ross, so there's false fronts and you can't go over the green. So, it's tough golf in terms of like making sure that you're flying shots high enough in to actually stop the ball and to have a little bit of spin on it as well. So
And I think, the Northeast is very similar. Also, I grew up in the Midwest and Chicago area and Michigan. Those courses are very similar. And if you're looking in the Midwest, similar to Northeast and probably Pacific Northwest, maybe, but not the weather conditions as much. But I mean, it's cold. I mean, I remember playing one time at Purdue, it was snowing and we played. So, I mean, those are the conditions. If you're looking Midwest, you're going to have to play in some of those conditions. I think below Missouri, you're okay, but up above it. But it's beautiful golf in the fall. It's great courses, really challenging. It's really beautiful.
Yeah, we played Ocotillo my freshman year, and it was in Portland, just outside of Portland, freezing cold. It was snowing. It was snowing at 7. We're at the range, and
Just
by
flurries, no one
by
hurt
the
you.
time the ball on hole 9 became a little baby snowball, and then I'm just like it's now this big, and then they're just like, okay, let's call it.
Yeah. But I think there's a lot to be said for that because it really mentally, it's like golf is hard and you can do hard things playing in that stuff. It's not always sunny and 85 degrees. So I think the hard makes you better. It's a good challenge.
That's a
it
go.
definitely does because NCAA's this year for the men were at University of Rochester and it was like 50 degrees and raining and our guys are in shorts and short sleeves almost, no rain gear. And, a lot of teams from not the Northeast looked like they were about to go skiing out there that day. So it was kind of funny to see our guys just out there, trekking through the rain. And I asked one of them, they're like, this is not even that bad. This is like some of the best weather we've had all spring. I'm like, you're right.
And that's a mental thing because some of the teams probably that came from the South are like, oh, I don't want to play in this stuff. Because some of the coaches, when we saw them at the women's national the week before, they're already complaining about going to New York. Remember that?
Yes.
It's like, oh, I can't believe we got to play in those conditions. It's like, welcome to our world.
They were already.
Midwest is the same, it's the same conditions.
Yeah, they were already sad before the week even came.
Oh, they were already chatting about it.
Yes, they were. It was the big.
I was like, just buy some hot hands, Amazon, you'll be fine.
Okay, changing directions. What attributes do coaches look for when recruiting a student athlete? What attributes do you look for
I
coaches?
think first, obviously academics, but as far as attributes, I look that's why I always have the players talk to them. If it's a good fit, is it a good fit for the recruit? Is a good fit for the team? Because culture is all, culture is what makes you successful. That you have a good fit, everyone kind of gets along. They don't have to be best friends, but they show respect for each other. And I just, that's a big one. Just how they carry themselves when they're on campus visiting, and yeah, it's very big for me.
Okay, Elizabeth?
Yeah, I think, there's so many different things we look at, but something that we look pretty heavily at is, do they love the game of golf?
Yeah.
If you don't love the game, don't play college golf. It takes up a lot of time, but it can be the best 4 years of your life. And I talk about this when they come and meet in my office. Do you love the game? Is this something that you love to do? Because if it is, you're gonna love your experience. You're gonna look back, 20 years from now and be like, I'm so glad I played college golf. But if you don't love it, it's going to be a grind and you're not going to enjoy your experience. So we definitely want someone who loves the game. We want someone who's going to fit into our culture, like Jackie was saying, someone that's going to come in and add to our team culture that we have, someone who's going to be a leader. Golf can be a really individual sport, but when you get to college, you get that team aspect of it. And we have some who maybe they didn't even get to play on their high school team. Definitely on the women's side, we don't really see this on the men's side, but maybe they didn't have a women's high school team, or maybe they had a co-ed, but they really weren't a part of the team as much. So to be able to come in and actually be a part of a team is definitely a different experience for a lot of our players that play junior golf, where it was individual. So that's usually kind of like just a few things we look for.
And I like to see if they've played other sports, especially team sports, because that's what they're going to be thrown right into a team, and how you have to fight hard for your teammates. It's not junior golf anymore. I think that's important too. And my last one that I always ask is, I like them to have other interests besides academic and golf. Some other thing, I always tell the recruits to go in, and there's 200 clubs at Wellesley. Pick 3 of them and attend 2 of their meetings your first year, because they can make other friends. You don't want to just be isolated with, the golf team. So we're both at smaller schools, so it's important that they have friend groups outside of golf and their academics. So I try to I've had, players were a cappella. I had 2 that were leads and plays, and you can do it because, you're very balanced that way too. So when you do come into golf, you really love it. You sound like, oh, I got to go to practice, but you have all these other interests.
Nice. Coach Hughes, should we ask the question about incoming freshmen?
We can. I'll ask it. So the student athlete has been accepted to one of your institutions. How do you make the pathway easier for these young people who may be going away to school for the first time and, don't know how to do laundry, just they're kind of lost? Do you think it's important to have a support system in place for incoming freshmen?
Well, our school, we have an athlete mentor program. So all the first years coming in get a mentor that they can talk to. But usually by the time they commit and then they sent their application in and they put down their deposit, then the team will start reaching out to them, welcoming them. And then they always gravitate to 1 or 2 of the team and ask them every question they can think of. And they are always like, what do I bring? What are the rooms like? All that kind of stuff that I don't get that involved in, but it's back to building that relationship early with their teammates. Once we know, the deposit's in and they're ready to go. And that carries on pretty much through it.
Do you think they're going to ask, what dorm should I be in?
Our school, you can't pick your dorm.
Oh, I see.
So they could ask.
Okay.
Yeah,
Elizabeth, how about you?
we do the same thing. We don't have a mentorship program, but we do have like a leadership program that our first years can be a part of, that is for athletes kind of their first year. And then too, a lot of our captains will always reach out to the first years as they're coming in that summer, like, hey, is there any questions you have? Is there anything that I can do? And then, like Jackie said, the biggest thing is the team kind of supporting them. I mean, we as a coaching staff will also check in with the first years, because it is a whirlwind, right? You get to college, you're trying to make friends, you're traveling the first, few weekends of golf, so you're gone and you're trying to connect with the team, you're trying to play great golf, you're trying to figure out what classes to be involved. But the great thing is that most of these schools have awesome support systems, not just for athletes, but for students in general. They want you to succeed in the classroom, socially, and, if you are on a sports team, on your sports team. But I think having that really strong team culture is key. because we have players reaching out each summer, checking in with the first years. Usually I'll check in too as it's getting closer. And then move-in day, I'm always around to, meet with the parents and, make sure that the student athletes are all ready to go. Because I know it's also, hard on the parents, to leave their student here, definitely because we have students from all over the world. So, it's pretty easy to get homesick if you've never been away from your parents. But the great thing is, any of these schools you go to, you're going to have support systems, and you have your coach too as well, which I think is really great.
Excellent.
Okay, well, I can't believe the hour is up. You guys have been amazing, wealth of information. Coach Hughes and I are like super thankful for you, and Coach Hughes, final thoughts.
Well, I will say this, as I said to some of the other coaches we've dealt with, the highest compliment I can give both of you is I'd love to play for either one of you.
Thank you.
And,
You got any eligibility left?
yeah, I got no game though anymore. But listen, I'm good friends with both of you, and I want to thank you for coming here. It means a lot to me that you guys would drop
Thanks for having us.
in the middle of the night and come over here and spend some time with us. It was great.
Yeah,
Thank you.
we're super thankful. All right. All right, and that ends our podcast with the coaches, and thank you guys so much.